Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're really excited that you're here. So my name is Lexi. I'm the editorial assistant at Bowen Publishing, and I'm here to introduce our poets, Dorsey and Alexa. They're the two winners of the May Sarton, New Hampshire Poetry Prize, which is our annual poetry contest that Bowen Publishing has held for 10 years now. So I'll hand it over to Alexa and Dorsey.
I guess I'm going to start the party, and who does not want to be in that position? And I was thinking preview-wise, my collection is sort of a mix of my experiences with my own son, Dante, who's out there in the audience for just a second, I believe, and also from the perspective of Mother Darling from Peter Pan, and just sort of thinking through her position of having her three children just sort of disappear off the face of the earth. And how one might feel about something like that. Okay, so I'm going to start with the poems about Dante, since he is number one in my life. Okay, so this poem, the first poem I'm going to start with is called When I Asked My Son the Source of His Nightmares. When I asked my son the source of his nightmares, he says plants, and you know me. So into morphology, I can't help but believe it's the beaucoup de green that avalanches his peace. Drip, drip, chlorophyll kiss. What to align with, if not an aster shower, a petunia blank? What to grip, if all the verdant universe bubbles and aches? You know, no one ever draws a womb as whittled away. Which makes me think it's not the green which leaves him afraid, but the husk left in its wake. There is so much to understand. Like the woman who trepanned herself for a group of potential fans, hungry for a hole God didn't plan. Maybe he wants crimson to out-king Banyan, to replace the purr of verdure, to privilege the red spur of our own sap. Or maybe what breaks him is that the earth is shamrock bland, perverse in its preference for one pigment, ivy-eyed where once rainbow tanned. Okay, and so the second poem that I'm going to read that is about Dante is also about Britney Spears, who is not in the audience, but if she was, hey girl. Okay, The Fall of the House of Britney. I am home with the toilet paper and the vodka and the too pulpy martini. A glowless fuckery, I am not what Bop wanted me to be. All that sun-in wasted on me. Son, I know Hulk holds the same low as 06 Britney did, as the liner notes to Toxic, that there is something in his image that diminishes the PJ cape, that clenches your neck nape, a pinch you can't escape. I admit, at one point I saw Britney as something to be, rather than something to grieve. I wet my hair in Walmart wax, hoping that after sex sweat is something I could achieve. 13 and a virgin, my prospects were pretty bleak. When you holler Hulk smash, I feel the power you think comes with six-pack abs, his green-tinged skin, a macho man's map. But if hurt has a color, it's hologram. That's the only way we will grow as flashy as the icons we stand. And I don't have a recipe or a list of glam accessories that will appease this ugly need, just a belief that you and I will rise. Another mother-son myth while the seraphims skid, unable to grasp us as we sink into the petals slick, our eyes lilac bearded, our toes daisy rich. Okay. And then the last poem that's for Dante starts with a quote from Dante. He once asked me, "Why I so sad, mommy?" So, why I so sad, mommy? On the edge of the bed at Electric Beach, I assess the tan no one touches. Yes, I want your pity. Go on, goddamn drench me. You see, the secret is you can make a monster out of anything. The stun of Eve's tongue among the apple foam, the doily thick spit spread chin to throat. I think we forget the alpha green ease of that morning. The whiskey empty hours always blurring. I refuse to tell my son splendor is a figment of some garden, that every inch of this abyss tipped earth is not his for the larking. Even as his body registers it, I still can't bring myself to say bad people exist. Plumb with dawn, I whisper. Feel the daffodils press air into wish. I take the shore of his finger. Say musk pollen into wick. Son, your tears prove everything is a candle, if enough light divides the tip. Okay, so we're gonna jump into Mother Darling from there. The Mother Darling poems I tried to set up chronologically, but there is a fair amount of the narrative missing. So this poem starts with Mother Darling's police report about her 3 children who have just gone missing because they're in Neverland. Mother Darling's police report. Night is the nipple I bruise as I suckle. My lips burn as they brush star stubble, unsure which constellation to tongue. Though London calls me the culprit, that sun-sunk rut was my accomplice. Yes, this hex is the behest of more than one goddess. But the blame fits like a bodice, laced tight where it should be honest. Death, where is thy sting? Often I question what I am waiting for. A femur? An eyelash to shore? How much body must they see before they exonerate me? As if I will ever be anything but gung-ho guilty. My children, 3 rings on a tree and ever circling inner grief. At 50, I have learned nothing is inevitable as the mangle. Some fist always a dangle, lush in its yearn to dismantle. I believed I could Bible in my kin. Jesus, a brushstroke that would paint us in heaven, no matter the sin, but there was a kink. Somewhere I did the wrong thing, and now the night wind, the long hallway, dormed in visions of goateed men I once cherry-fed just to hear moan my name from sheets rubied in sweat, from the soiree Father Darling and I just had to attend. To this hunch of a man, uniform bland, telling me the ink I write this in is not a weapon, who beckons then demands I sign this slant. And yet, my hands, my hands, my hands. Okay. So a bunch of things happen, and then Mother Darling joins OkCupid. Right? Mother Darling joins OkCupid. I never say mother. I say architect. I say bodybuilder, brick layer of breath. I say grief so deep it's just another orifice by which to fuck me. Interests include loosening Earth's gravity, waiting for the puck drop, and search parties in the nursery. I currently define beauty as a gin-firm face and thighs that speak in blitzkrieg. Suitors should be able to layer vapor into fog, read the moon in my lips, and never mention kids. Dates are just tests, so fill my bubbles with your lead. Shade the space where you believe I should open my legs. Jog your hand along my labia, but don't forget, everything in its wake ends up dead. And so the last poem I'm going to share with y'all is Mother Darling when she goes to the casino. It's not that I can't handle it. The rainbow sop of the slots, the coin clot, the neon scar of a night that never stops, but that the woman next to me lets the fluorescence freckle her hands like Jesus let the moon muscle his back when everything else was wilderness. How many of us have asked too much of glitter, have counted on sparkle to bear? I know that's why my therapist suggested this. It's easy to concede defeat in the disco honey of dollars and gin neat. She doesn't think I'll ever see Wendy. The boys, I ask? Maybe. She says for mums like me, belief is the new baby. Coddle it, nurse it, but my God, loss has a mouth that ferns and ferns. Every morning its lips unstitch, and I feather its ever urn. The woman to my left places her last bet. What will she buy? Is there a child cozy in some London, some quaff of jasmine awaiting the putter of her tokens? Or a husband liquoring away the Sunday she wants to use as his grave? Maybe I'm a goddess, and this is all myth. How else could 3 children just cease to exist? Why else would I be in this kaleidoscopic cyst, if not to feel the fracture of glitter and hiss? Thank you. Thank you so much.
Wow. Alexa, that was so awesome. Way to go. Hi, I'm Dorsey. My collection Plunder, it's remarkable that we're two really close friends that won this prize in back-to-back years. It's also remarkable that these collections are like very much like sisters, I feel. Mine also has like a sort of persona series, and it switches back and forth between a speaker who is sort of, I always am like, oh, she's a contemporary female speaker. She's a speaker that is me. And then my sort of like alter ego person is an 18th century pirate named Anne Bonny. So to get us acquainted with her, I'll read just the very first poem in the collection, although it was one of the very last poems that I wrote. This poem takes its title from Gilbert and Goupart's book of feminist criticism, The Mad Woman in the Attic. And the poem is called The Pirate Anne Bonny Says She's Not the Mad Woman in the Attic. So you think you dipped your toe in the icy clatter of my diamond, that you've tamed the facets and caught the bulk of the vampire, a hyena in dusty lace. Infection in the sentence breathes. So fever me up in green, scrawl your sickness across my shoulders, calligraphy of septicity around my throat like the language of an adder. Don't imagine me demure. I'll tell you who I've been and who I've since become in the yellow smacks of lightning across the face of gutless sky, in the sweat that laces the lip of a girl torn up with a switch. And I'll clue you in to the whores I've kept time with, purple-eyed scalawags, supple backs, and curious tongues. It's true. The dungeons left its sewage steam in my hair. I've tasted confinement's foul monotony like a marble lodged in the windpipe. But mark me, I don't hide my knife beneath my dress or pace a flaxen parlor with limbs like floss. And I'm not slung in a bayou, silt creeping up the nostrils of my poor, bleached skull. I'm not some shadow stuck to the hips of a coward. I'm the caster and a captain at last, the marshal of estrus mariners with a lust to curl your nose hairs, a craving to loose the lard from girdles, a hunger for a ruby river, spilling 1,000 scarlet sirens into the sea. I really hate the dentist. I don't think I'm alone in that. And for about a year of my life, I had like a tooth in the back of my mouth that was just killing me. Like it was really hurting, but I convinced myself that it had always been that way, and that was just how my body was. My teeth just hurt. And eventually it did catch up with me, and I had to go get a root canal. So this poem is called Root Canal at 27. And it's from the Contemporary Speaker, not Anne Bonny. Anyway, Root Canal at 27. The endodontist peers into my molar. Necrotic, he says. Necrotic, I say. Thick-packed, black, like I used to picture smokers' lungs, Texas plates fished from the stomachs of catfish, chicken raw under plastic. It means dead, he says. I know what it means, I say. I'm sorry, I say. Like when my dermatologist flicked the white patch of thigh she'd sliced 6 months ago and asked, who did that? Bitch, you did that. We can fix it for you. I'd like to watch them smooth me with hot light, beams unlike the ones that raised the brown mole misshapen from my leg, just as I'd have liked to see whatever leaves of me the endo tweezed from the deep of my jaw. And like Kristeva says, abjection draws the gaze, the longing to look away at shit or clot raw tampon because it's me, or it was me, but it's not quite, the unnecessary expelled, waste dumped off, death pushed out so we can keep on trucking, just like I'll do. Look away at my half-still Novocaine face in my rear view. A witch in my mouth, a cackle fragment sharp as my tongue. Don't eat any apples this week, they say, as if fruit got me here instead of corn syrup. My dentist thinks I'm an idiot. He's not wrong. He's just a man who's solved his Oedipal Rubik's Cube, sided with his father, and now gazes into silent red of women's mouths to pry out decay, the not quite dead, but not quite young, his microscope lenses homed in on the coffee stain. Instruments whine, cement tacks into crown. I floss with mint green plastic picks. I wish not to have thought, bitch, at the dermatologist. I look away at the trash, the spittle-soaked pile of string. Which parts will biodegrade? Which parts of me belong to me? and which parts of me are dying. Before, I laid the red of my cheek on the grimy tile at 3 a.m. when my tooth shrieked me awake, uncanny banshee, a pulp throbbing, a hymn for the ground down. Pretty words, I think are really why I got into poetry, along with the extravagant wealth and lifestyle. So I wanted to read this poem, which I think would win in a language beauty pageant out of all the poems in my book. It's called The Pirate Anne Bonny Goes Through Her Lover's Pockets. Your man is lying naked as stone. The straw grazes his thighs with each rustle of the drapes as the Caribbean's lilt draws him deeper into visions blue as sapphire. But you can lift your body light as rain to plunge your hands into the breeches slumped like a dead man in the corner. This is your way, to search before learning what to find, to finger shapes and mouth their color, slate, brick, aubergine, mint, thick gold like the fish you speared after you spent an hour in the shallows, mirroring its dips and pivots. The murmurs of his crew have never stopped your dance, and you only touch your skin with shades you fancy, textures that warm the backs of your wrists, man or woman by twilight or noon, whichever suits the moment's taste. Perhaps there will be coinage deep in those folds, a note from an opal-haired jade, a harlot's mangy token, or a stone drawn from the tawdry ocean. Perhaps you'll steal to the dance hall and lift bright skirts, or maybe the moon will point you to the ships nestled like lovers in the bay, rush you into the night like a flurry of ochre fins. I'm gonna read a poem that I've never read at a reading before, because I thought it's like a good one to like raise the energy. It's another Anne Bonny poem, but now she's in the present day at a football game, which is yeah. This is The Pirate Anne Bonny Does Not Care About Football. You say it's the heat. The sunglasses that puddle from noses, glint in rows like sunfish, a flip drip school drying in hot air, but they're going for it on fourth down, so you drop your jaw like you mean to swallow a helmet whole, a groan to drown the signal caller, the veins in your neck slung with wind, with blood, stuck under a sweat-logged tangle of crimson, and the sound still pumping out of your mouth like a whale's stale exhale. And after the linemen launch their face mask crunch, I see you stretched across the field like a sail, riding the thin wire of the TV cameras up to the empty corners of the upper deck, licking salt from the freckled ears of wrecked boys, clipping letters from their chests, and giving their dates high fives that shake their sunburnt cleavage, because the D line held like leather, and now we're in the red zone. So you zip line down to the head cheerleader, his brawny arms waiting for your boot, poised in his hand, while you kick the other foot to your forehead and flash the club level seats a downpour of whiskey and water on the toddlers. And I can tell we're about to send a short pass out to the flat, The thumbs of our slight new slot receiver meet at the seam on the underside of the ball before you tuck it and break for the end zone. No touchdown celebration, raucous as the spangle you throw while they slap your shoulder pads. A somersault shimmy that has the referee sprinting down the sideline to clutch a sliver of your jersey, empty and crumpled in the painted letters, because you're already traipsing out the tunnel with a fistful of championship rings, the running back's diamond gleaming in your nose. You stop by the trophy case to lop some gold plate and help yourself to spiced rum from the liquor lockers, a perfect spiral, an orange scorch, electricity and shattered glass of every blinking bulb the scoreboard has. I'm gonna read two more poems, both about my matriarchal line, well represented here tonight. The first one is called Ode to Sex and the City. I watched the episode where Carrie's nude, strapless dress is ruched all sparkly down the bodice and hangs in mummy bandages from her crotch to her ankles. Those skinny knees pop out and into sight in rhythm like manic tan birds in a cuckoo clock. She is at a wedding. She is reading a poem about love. If my friends asked me to write a poem for their wedding, I'd likely cut my hair and dye it Miranda red, drive down I-10 to Louisiana and get a blue thigh tattoo of the fleur-de-lis. And sure, Carrie's scared, but she's still blonde corkscrews and untattooed, as far as I know. It's only season 2 and I'm on my first binge watch. Predicted plot twist. The ladies grow claws and beaks and rip intestines from sleazy suitors in broad daylight, then rendezvous at chic rooftop venue for Kai lattes or whatever they were drinking in early aughts New York. Season 4 takes place entirely feathered, and nests are lined with $200 haircut clippings. Occasional verse for egg smashings and ripples in street puddles. Can you tell I've never been to New York? My favorite friend from high school owns her own restaurant with her Turkish boyfriend and works for Procter & Gamble. She's throwing a wedding bash for herself there, even though she lives in Cincinnati. So I guess I'll finally get to see those big ass buildings, gray and gray and gray. I hope she wears a red dress, an ostrich feather train, a hairpiece that sprays like a fountain. I hope we skip the fake send-off, sparklers and confetti, and poses with the Mustang convertible as the venue attendants sweep and smoke, which is what I love about Carrie, the cigarette she's smoking on the cover of New York Magazine a couple episodes earlier, single and fabulous, ? That shakes her confidence like a salsa. I read once that cigarettes punctuate your life. I've never smoked one, but I love more structure to my days. Grammatical lilts that tell me when to fake the end and keep on going. Semicolon carcinogens are what I've been missing, along with eagle yellow irises and blood in my talons, fresh tear from the ribs of accountants or lawyers, the tenderest flesh to season the stew, like the collards my grandmother boils with hunks of meat. She got married in New York, too, on a prototype reality TV show called American Wedding, with some New Yorker yammering in her ear, telling her to answer, "Where is Roseville?" with "about 20 miles from Branchville," to big laughs from the studio audience about these gorgeous hicks, their podunk lives. My occasional poem for her would have purple lipstick and cuss words. It would tell her she's fast and sexy, a falcon in a dive bringing the skyline down with her. Thanks so much to Bowen and Lexi for putting this on, to Deb Gorlin, who's here tonight, for choosing my manuscript for this prize, and to Alexa for her beautiful reading. And thanks so much to all of you guys for being here with us tonight. I really appreciate it. And I hope you'll indulge me for like just one more longish poem, long for me, like not that long. Um, it's my last one. It's about the French feminist Helene Cixous, my mother, and dogs. This poem is called Memos for My Mother. At the top, the page said memos in green letters, and my mother, 8 and sharp as fresh turned graphite, drew the crinkled face of a bulldog in the margins. Across the lines, in slippery cursive, she cut her stories. Memis the bulldog picks up sticks. Memis goes to the beach. Memis gets a brand new puppy dog. Pronounced Memis, the dog found himself in mischief often as Mom did after pedaling fast through Mrs. Poodle's begonias. Memis first hid inside the cedar chest, but soon, after prayer, appeared on her front steps, arms spread wide, and cried his famous line, "I did it. Spank me, Mrs. Poodle." As per the American Kennel Club's guidelines, a bulldog's demeanor should be pacific and dignified, not vicious or aggressive. The proper term for folds of the face is rope, and on average, the bulldog lives only 6 years and 3 months, plagued by cardiac struggles and its kingly weight. The University of Georgia keeps pure a sickly lineage of dogs named Uga, likely first models for Memis, and in my abridged copy of Jack London's White Fang, I saw drawings of a bulldog dead clamped on the wolf's throat until a savior wedged a pistol through its jaws. The pug is the bulldog's most miniature kin, and my mother once lined 4 just-born pugs like fat croissants on the bathroom floor, their roped muzzles black like their mother, who panted rough beneath my sister's bed, where we found one last fawn puppy, slick and ancient-faced. In his last moments, my mother breathed into his slit-thin nostrils, placed a finger on his still, small chest, cried, for he had been the largest, most viable, not a runt, fated to be abandoned, denied milk while fuller siblings suck and keen. Just a first-time mother's shocked mistake. Finding herself spilled out, she waddled away. Like my grandfather, who, last time I saw him, chortled beneath my stout corgi on his withered chest, my mother cannot help herself with dogs. She holds their faces steady to hers and lifts their lips to see the snarl beneath placid eyes. She palms a rhythm on their sides. She lets the bird dog slither next to her on the leather couch and holds him while she naps. She even wipes the aging pug's folds with a Q-tip, laughs at memories of how her bolder maw and blunted canines would quell any violence in our house. After the first time, we'd fake spankings and yell for her to save us, fierce as any mother raptor. The day my mother slapped me for calling her a woman, we were in her bathroom, where before the light-soaked mirror, she tilted upside down to blow-dry damp brown hair, where she rolled lotion on firm golden legs, where we sidled in to seek approval of skirts and necklines, where the powder floated thick as moon dust, leaving a fresh layer shining on our blackest tights. And because it was there, she must have been naked, breasts shaking with the force of her hand against my face. I think she did not like my dress. I think she did not like my tone, sarcastic and whiny, asking, "What do you want from me, woman?" According to WikiHow, A memo should be direct, should eschew formal salutations, should end on a positive note that makes recipients feel warmly towards the sender. Like his namesake, Memis's stories did not go for long, their tiny writer having learned too soon the virtues of brevity and succinctness, how excess must be trimmed. Siksu tells us we need what we waste. To write is always to make allowances for superabundance and uselessness. The tiny writer did not waste. The sheets lined back and front with words, teaching Memis the bulldog what she knew. The corgi is known as a puckish beast, bred to boss the cattle as its back grazed their udders and its teeth their haunches. So it is no surprise when my corgi plants his paws on evening walks, refuses to move on until he's claimed the patch of weeds or the neighbor's mailbox, lifted his curt leg to send his brisk message to the Yorkie down the street. And because I am known as my mother's daughter, with anger beneath my face that bursts quick as azaleas the first warm night of March, it is no surprise when I jerk his neck too hard and steer his sturdy body home. My mother told me once she never felt slighted as a woman, a muscle in her jaw popping out and in like it does when she clenches her incisors tight on the neck of an argument, about to wring it dead. Another time, she told me how her father laughed when she told him she would not work, would probably just get married after college, and how she suspects he had her schooled for that exact purpose. And she told me how, if my date touched me at the movies, I should gently take his hand in mine and place it on the armrest. No scene, no mess, just dark and quiet, like inside a shut mouth. Mother, I am searching for our breed in the catalog you keep by the bed. I try not to pound the coffee table when I argue with my husband. I keep my voice so low and steady, and when I break and scream and stamp, I wonder if I am fighting you, and if two women fighting cannot be a kind of love too. I try to love my excess and my stillness, and I long to curl, warm as the bird dog does against you, to have you examine my pointed teeth, want you to write my simple story, the one where I open my arms and know the punishment will end with feeding. Thank you.